Football Friday here on Birds 365 with your Mac guys, John McMullen, Jody McDonald. We've got a couple of minutes to spend with our next guest. Looking forward to chatting him up here. You catch him weekends on 97.5 The Fanatic, and he is host on his own YouTube channel, Sports Talk with Broads. Hunter Brody joins us here on Birds 365. Hunter, Jody Mac, and Johnny Mac here. How you doing today, bud?
I'm doing great. How are you guys? Thanks for having me on.
Thrilled to have you, Broads. I've been on in South Jersey with Hunter as well. And I got to tell you, I'm excited because Hunter has the most energy of anybody I know outside of Nick Sirianni. So who would win? Who would win that rock, paper, scissors matchup?
That's a great question. It's funny because, look, I'm not out on Nick Sirianni just because of how outrageous he is and all. I have some question. I don't love it, but I feel hypocritical because I don't love it. Yet here I am, and I do the same thing. So I don't know. That's how I feel about it.
Talking with your hands is never a bad thing as far as I'm concerned. Any way you can express yourself. How pumped are you to see Eagle football back out on the field today, Hunter?
Yeah, I'm definitely stoked for sure. It seems like it's been like this. I don't know. Last year was a mess. Every Sunday, it felt painful to watch. It wasn't fun to watch. So after that refresher, I don't know what we're going to get this season, but after the refresher, it's like, all right, let's get back into things. And I don't know how great the product is going to be. I don't think it's going to be one of those stretches of 2-3 win football seasons like some feel. It's going to be a growing pain process, though, so I don't know what to expect. But I think that's where my intrigue is because I don't know. What the hell are we going to get? I don't know. So that's why I think I am excited because there's so many questions to be answered.
Well, explain this to me, Hunter, because I get killed when I bring up, wait, maybe we should pump the brakes on Jalen Hurts. He's not entrenched. He's not a #1 quarterback in this league yet. And I always say, Johnny Mac hates Jalen Hurts. I actually like the kid. So I have those people. And then a lot of the same people are saying, oh, Jalen Hurts is going to be great. MVP conversation. Wait till you see. And then they're like, oh, this team might start 0-6. You can't have it both ways.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree with you. I feel like I'm in the middle right now. I feel like Jalen Hurts, obviously we know he's a competitor. We know the background story of what he did in college and all, and I think he's got a proper mindset, and he's just focused on what he can control. So he does seem like he's got everything applied upstairs the way that it needs to be.
He does,
I think Jalen Hurts is, for me, he's a guy that's going to keep you involved and be prepared the best that he can be. What is that going to end up with? Like I said, I just don't know, but I think what you see is going to be everything that he has. I look at him as a guy that you might not have. I hate to use this comparison because it's a different playing style, but if built properly around him, so once again, not the same player at all, but the way that you build the team. Ryan Tannehill, he's not an elite quarterback. He's not a superstar quarterback, but the Titans can go far if you have a system that works well with him. Now, you don't have Derrick Henry, so you're not going to be able to run the rock and hand it off that amount of times. But I just use it as the example of, I don't think he's someone that's top 5. You talk about it's like, you're going to go win a championship because of Ryan Tannehill. But do the Titans have something very successful because they built this mold throughout this tandem of a Derrick Henry and Ryan Tannehill? Yeah. Can the Eagles build something in their own unique way that can work with Jalen Hurts? But then I go back to Lamar Jackson. And does that work if you don't have, someone who has a flaw, and it doesn't work with the Ravens, and they have a cap on where they could go until Lamar takes that step personally. So that's where I'm conflicted in between both because I watch Lamar and he's amazing. They build around him, but there's a cap because he struggles to throw the football. And then I watch Ryan Tannehill and they make some noise and they do well. Do they have a cap as well? I don't know, but that's kind of where I am internally, if that makes sense to you guys.
Here's one of my concerns, Hunter. Tell me if you're thinking along the same way or differently. We talk a lot when putting together football teams and looking on how things are going to work on commitment. The coaching staff of the Philadelphia Eagles have no commitment to Jalen Hurts. They weren't here when Jalen Hurts were signed. They weren't here when Jalen Hurts got to start 4 games last year. They're coming in with a clean slate. Sometimes clean slate is a good thing, and sometimes it's a forebodings of things to come. Hey, he's not our guy. We didn't pick him. If it's not working out, we're ready to move on right away. The Eagles organization, Howie Roseman et al., and when et al. Includes Jeff Lurie, it's pretty significant. And that's the reporting that Jeff was involved in the selection of Jalen Hurts last year. Could this be the first hurdle that the new coaching staff and the management of this team have to get over, that the new coaching staff has got to completely buy in the way that the organization has? Second-round pick turned starting quarterback after less than 1 year. Is this something that you think works out well, or something that is a hurdle to get over?
Well, I hate to go down this road, but I feel like Nick Sirianni is here for a reason. Maybe I would have a different answer if the person selected for the head job was maybe Todd Bowles or more of a veteran guy that might have a little bit more pushback on something. But I feel that's maybe a discussion that happened throughout these interview process where it's like, hey, Jalen Hurts is your guy. And it's almost understood that we're moving forward with Jalen Hurts. This is something that you know, taking the job that, hey, Nick Sirianni, we love to have you. This is your quarterback. And considering he has no head coaching experience, he doesn't have that say. He's excited to be the head coach, as we all know. I think it's just somewhat applied to it all that you are going to rock with Jalen Hurts. So I don't know if there ever is going to be that internal conflict of, well, we weren't here when we drafted him. I just feel like maybe that discussion was already happened at the time of the interview. I could be wrong though, but that's how I hate to use the word puppet, but there is that element of,
hey, throw it out there.
Yeah. You're handed what you were kind of given at the time of those meetings.
Hunter, go with malleable. That doesn't sound nearly as bad. He's a very malleable coach. He will be.
I like puppet. I like puppet. But it's interesting because this Deshaun Watson stuff won't die, Hunter. You're on the air every weekend, 97.5. You should listen to him there. When you get phone calls, do you talk to Deshaun Watson? What are the fan base? Because that is a sticky situation. Do you have people who just look at it football-wise, or do you go, we can't bring this guy in?
I think a majority of the people that I have spoken to just goes down the road of, you got to wait until everything's cleared up. And I think it just continues to snowball. And now it's more, it's great. How many people can you have to massage it? I don't know. But it's getting to the point where you got to make sure everything's cleared up before you try and make a move. So it does seem like it's more of it's gotten so far that it's more of a let's not go down that path kind of thing.
They've got their work cut out for them at quarterback. That's for damn sure. All right, rookie showing up today. I'm sorry I didn't catch over the weekend when you had a chance to comment on the Eagles rookie draft. Certainly, John and I have talked plenty about Devonta Smith, and I'm a huge fan. John has come around to be a big fan. He thought the Eagles were going in the trenches, and they ended up picking a wide receiver. But John has been very fair in his evaluation of Devonta Smith, acknowledges what kind of a great season he had in winning the Heisman Trophy. How big is big? How good can Devonta Smith be year one here with the Birds?
Yeah, I think it could be huge. There's no doubt about it. The problem is we don't know what Nick Sirianni's offense is going to technically look like. So once again, it's like all these questions need to be answered. But yeah, I'm super excited for him. He's got everything in the tool bag here, right? I mean, everything that he can do. Tool bag is that the right way to say? He's got
tool the box.
Tool box. I'm not going. Yeah,
bag box, same thing. You're fine.
Yeah. But. Look, he's got everything we know about his route running, his catching the ball ability. You look at how many drop balls he had in college compared to how many drop balls you had just from Nelson Aguilar and all these other receivers over the years. So there's no questions on that side of things. I guess it's crazy to think that I'm so excited for Devonta Smith for him to open up maybe what Jalen Reagor could do. It's the opening of stretching the field and maybe the creativity of Nick Sirianni that can get Jalen Reagor working with time and space. So I think if you talk about Devonta Smith as a whole, he's got everything. I'm not too worried about the size. I think when you're a smaller player, you're so accustomed to knowing that you're a smaller player that you have it in the mental side of the game of recognizing when to kind of get out of trouble. Now it's a different speed, different in size players than the SEC, but I think that's in you as someone who's 166 with weight. So Yeah, I can't wait to see him stretch the field. I think it's just going to open up a lot more with this offense, especially if we see more run game, more Miles Sanders, and that can open up Jalen Hurts too with the read option. So all of it, the entire package, everyone. And it starts with him. It starts with the young kid that's going to come in here and really help with that speed.
Now, here's my concern, Hunter. Great player. I disagree with Jody's assessment. I like DeVonta Smith. I did think the Eagles were going to go in a different direction. My problem is position. And his position is reliant on another position that we just talked about. And we just talked about Jalen Hurts. He's not going to be a high volume thrower. So I want to talk about expectations. In other words, we look at Justin Jefferson. Kirk Cousins throws for 4,000 yards every year, whether Jefferson is there or not. So people are looking for a 1,400-yard receiver. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen with where the Eagles are. How does that affect DeVonta Smith?
Well, it definitely is going to. And I'll go back to something Nick Sirianni stated about getting guys open with time and space and allowing them to do the work. So you're right. They're probably not going to be as high volume as maybe we would like to see, but maybe there's something to be said about getting the ball out quickly, getting DeVonta Smith with the ball in his hands, and then allowing him to do the work, allowing him to just utilize his legs and he can go beat defenders. And maybe that's a way to make up for. I'm not saying it's going to be maybe as outrageous in terms of receptions as we would like it to be, but maybe that helped closes the gap, at least in the beginning of Jalen Hurts, until they figure out exactly what Jalen Hurts is going to do best or how he improves in that area of throwing the football so his volume does get higher. So I do agree with that assessment of maybe it won't be as flashy and as sexy with the numbers because it's limited. Maybe they work around that, though. They adapt to that by making up for the gap in other areas, which is getting the ball out quickly and getting DeVonta Smith the ball within 5 yards of the line of scrimmage and allowing him to run. But that is a very fair kind of criticism on Jalen Hurts' game, and is it going to be as flashy as maybe we would like it to be?
Hunter, I want to get your take on a potential guy hitting the trade market. Rumors started coming out yesterday that Jordan Hicks, ex-Eagle linebacker who decided to go free agent a couple of years ago, went to the Cardinals, has had 2 pretty damn good years with Arizona, as a matter of fact, played in all games. That was his issue here in Philadelphia from time to time. Couldn't stay on the field, too many games on the injured list. Not a problem in Arizona these last couple of years. They took a linebacker in the first round and are ready to turn over the position to him. So they've given Hicks permission to see if he can work out a trade with another team. I think he'd be a real nice re-addition to the Eagles. But the question is the way the Eagles evaluate and put value on the linebacker position. New coaching staff, but the same regime in place. Any chance they try and upgrade linebacker and make a play for a guy like Jordan Hicks?
I guess it's not out of the question. It depends on how they view Eric Wilson and Alex Singleton. You know, like, look, I think the Alex Singleton story was amazing, but he's got a role, and I don't think that role's an every down kind of thing. If you can improve that, that would be amazing. But I guess it comes down to cost. What's it going to cost would be the answer to that question. If it's not going to be anything crazy, well, then I would imagine. Here's another thing, though. You have that Zach Ertz thing flying around. He's still on the team. Is that something that could maybe be you give some, you take some, you get rid of Ertz, you get back a linebacker? But you're right. They don't value it that way. Does Jonathan Gannon have a voice? What if he goes, Jim Schwartz couldn't get one. Is Jonathan Gannon going to be able to step into the room?
I don't think Jim Schwartz ever wanted one. I think he bought into the overall legal philosophy of linebackers. Who are linebackers? What are linebackers?
I bet you he didn't want Davion Taylor, though. And that's a name that, what's his role going to be? Is he even going to get playing time, or is he still a project here?
I'd throw Davion Taylor out there and see if he can play. I've said that from the start. He's so athletic. Maybe he can't play, but I just throw him in the deep end of the pool and say, go. Because they have such a dearth of talent at the linebacker position. And that leads me to my next question, Hunter. It's even worse at corner after Darius Slay. It is the worst situation in the NFL at cornerback after Darius Slay. what the heck is it? Mike Hughes just got traded. A lot of people speculated about him. He just went to Kansas City, former first-round pick. What can the Eagles do? Can they do something at this stage at the cornerback position?
I think so. I don't know what the options are going to be. You heard Howie Roseman say there's many different ways to skin a cat. And then he also brought up the fact that he traded for Ronald Darby before. And I mean, at the time, Ronald Darby wasn't a name that just popped to everybody. You got him from Buffalo and he did okay. And then he ended up becoming a disaster by the end of it all, getting toasted every single play, it felt like. But maybe they go down that road. I don't think it's going to be McPherson in the 4th round who's going to get thrown in there. I just can't imagine that happening. Is it Avonte Maddox? Is that what they're going to try and trot out there? And that smells like a terrible as well. It's unfortunate, but they keep putting the kid in a position to fail. At 5'9", you try, and I don't know. Did that ruin his confidence to go back and play the slot because you keep throwing him out there to play against these bigger receivers? And it's not his fault. You're seriously saying, here's a position where you're not going to succeed. That's what we got for you. And if they do that again, I think that's a bad message for him because I liked him in the slot. I don't know. Is he great in the slot? Not great, but I think he can hold his own. And maybe there's a confidence issue there. Outside of Slay, he's probably, unfortunately, your best option right now until they make a trade. So I don't know. Is there something to the Ronald Darby type of move that they can go out and make, whether it's August? He also mentioned Jay Ajayi. That's too deep into the season for my liking. Not that I think this team is going to make some sort of run with this NFC East in general, but I wouldn't want it to be a Jay Ajayi type trade. That's too deep in for my liking.
Yeah, same thing. I think they have to do something well before the in-season trade deadline. Don't count them out in the NFC least, though. Let's see those, but they got a tough early schedule. Let's see how it shakes out, and they better have something in place ahead of time. Is the answer at the shortage at cornerback potentially Jonathan uber-aggressive Gannon that we've had Coach Schwartz here the last couple of years, who played a bend but not break type defense? I've been around Hunter a little longer than you, and same with John. The Philadelphia fan base loves aggressive defense. They want blitzing. They want the quarterback to eat turf. Is there any chance that Gannon goes that route? The best way to cover up for exposed cornerbacks is don't let the ball get downfield. Let's get to the quarterback before it ever gets out of his hand. Could this be an uber-aggressive pass-rushing Eagle defense this year?
Well, one thing that Nick Sirianni keeps stressing, and I know that we're talking about Gannon, but it ties together, is the personnel. We will do what we do based off of our personnel, not so much this is my scheme, and we're going to force players to play it. So if you know you have a hole in corner, will that philosophy that the head coach have, will that domino effect to the Jonathan Gannon of, I got to do what's best based off of my personnel? Maybe I would do something different if we had Surtain in the 1st round and we were able to draft him, and I would probably apply a different logic to my scheme. But based off of having those flaws, maybe we do have to lean a little bit heavier on the defensive line, which the Eagles like to do as a whole, as you saw with their 3rd round selection and a bunch of other selections they went with throughout the draft with some of their later round picks. So I think it's a possibility. And I was a Schwartzman. I was a big fan of Jim Schwartz. I thought he was the scapegoat. There's always scapegoats. Out of 16 games a year, there's 4 that probably you'll be like, oh, Jim Schwartz in the sticks. Guess what? I'll take that percentage any day of the week if there's 4 out of 16 that you're. And look at the odds. I just thought that Jim Schwartz got so much heat where he kept you involved in a lot of games. And hell, I thought last year, for what it was, for the personnel on the field, he actually did a damn good job. But I also get switching it up at the same time.
I'm with you, Hunter. I'm going to steal your Schwartzman. I'm a Schwartzman. I love Jim. I think he's one of the best defensive minds in football. I think people are going to see that. Jody is right, though. People in this town, they love blitzing. They love aggressiveness. I think they look at Minnesota. They call it sugaring the A-gaps, where they put Anthony Barr and Eric Kendricks right on top of the center. Oh, but it's Anthony Barr and Eric Kendricks. It's not Alex Singleton and Eric Wilson. Eric Wilson was in Minnesota after Anthony Barr got hurt. He made some plays. I had one personnel guy tell me he was a 20-point scorer on a bad NBA team. In other words, Somebody's got to do it. You don't want those guys blitzing. At what point do people realize sometimes you got to play cover 2? Sometimes you got to play cover 3 because you don't have the talent to do what you want to do on Madden.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's funny because you send a blitz with Jim Schwartz and it gets toasted, and then you get screamed that, oh, you shouldn't have blitzed and sent the hell. Was it the Atlanta game where it was like the Eagles came back and won? Maybe it was 2 years ago after all these games.
The Julio game?
The Julio Jones, right.
Yeah,
it's like you said, well, why are you doing that? Well, you screamed for the last 90 snaps to send the blitz, and then he finally sends all this pressure, and then ends up getting toasted, and now, oh, well, that's not the time to do it. You can't have it both ways kind of thing. So I'm with you. Could he have set more pressure? Yeah, he could have. I just think it's crazy because what you hear a lot of the time is everyone knows what he's going to do, or his scheme is so vanilla that it's like, well, if that's the case and he's still – I'm just saying hypothetically, if that was the case where you knew everything Jim Schwartz was going to do and he still had those results, God bless him.
Yeah.
Here's the reason why I'm okay with saying maybe they should be more aggressive and blitz. It ties into what Hunter said. You have to do what your talent level tells you to do. You have to play according. Eagle cornerbacks were bad 2 years ago, last year, and right now on paper, they stink. So sitting back and playing a soft defense doesn't work when you don't have corners that can actually maybe break up a pass every once in a while.
If you can't play zone, Jody, you can't play press coverage. That's why you play zone, because your corners can't play press coverage. That's the whole point of zone. You're masking a deficiency. But you can point out the cornerbacks. You're right. The linebackers were worse. So,
and is there an art to, like, this is always a debate, and Mike Gill and I used to go back and forth about this on 97.3. It's like the art of blitzing. You can want to blitz all you want, but to send a guy just to send a guy, that's great. But there's an art to the timing. There's an art to getting off of that jump and making sure you're getting and beating that line. In theory, it's like, oh, just go send more pressure. You actually have to be good at that. And did the Eagles have that personnel to do it?
And I will say, talk about whatever defensive mind you like. Bill Belichick, Mike Zimmer, Jim Schwartz, Jonathan Gannon. You can go back to Jim Johnson. You can go back to Buddy Ryan if you want. Every single one of them will tell you, I want to get home with 4 on the pass rush. I want my front 4 to get home so I don't have to blitz, because it's easier to play defense. Now, obviously, it's tough to get home with 4, especially against teams with good offensive line. So that's where the difficulties come in. But it's also the mentality of the game has changed so much. People love Buddy Ryan. They'll always love Buddy Ryan. That's one of the great defenses of all time. Even Bud Carson, by the way, had a better defense. But you can't play defense like that anymore. Got to leave it the past.
Yeah, you absolutely do. And that's why I'm so fascinated with this. Everything. It's like kind of like what I talked about from the jump is there are so many you can look at every category of this team and you could probably come up with 15 questions that really need to be answered. And Jonathan Gannon is one of them. And there's a lot of intrigue with him because his name was thrown around and everyone's like, who? Nick Sirianni. But with Jonathan Gannon, that was a name that a lot of teams had on their list of defensive coordinator. So for him, maybe there's the bar is set a little high for him with, look, he was wanted around the league. There were a lot of teams that were interested in at least having some interviews with him and for him to take that next step. So defensively, because we've been so accustomed to the Jim Schwartz era, what is it going to look like? How is it going to play out? And then with the holes as well is, how do they fill those holes? The Jonathan Gannon experience, I can't wait to see how he is, because he's more of that new generation. You just talked about how it's a whole new different defense. And I think we have a guy in here that knows that new defense, and you're starting to come with the times with this new defense, and we'll see how it plays out for sure.
Let me flip it over to the offense. We've been talking plenty of defense. I got an offensive question for you, Hunter. One guy who I think needs to have a good season for the Eagles, and certainly the pressure has been ratcheted up on him, if you believe Zach Ertz is going to be elsewhere, is Dallas Goedert, who had a solid season last year, but was certainly more affected with Carson Wentz than he was with Jalen Hurts. Last 3 or 4 games of the year, I don't remember Dallas Goedert making a big catch, certainly not a touchdown. He's going to be the number 1 tight end this year, but he didn't necessarily flash last year. Different team, different coaching staff, different scheme, but the connection between he and Jalen Hurts didn't jump off the screen or off the field last year. How much can the Eagles expect out of the Hurts and Goddard combination this year?
Yeah, it's very fascinating. With Dallas Goedert, everyone likes to throw out there that, like, well, he's more athletic than Ertz. And, there's some attributes in him that might be a little bit higher than Ertz. But I don't think his appeal pops the same way. I don't think he has the defense looking at him the same way they looked at Zach Ertz. Maybe the intensity of Zach Ertz is a little bit stronger, even though he might be, quote, more athletic and might be able to do different things than Zach Ertz. I just don't think it's there. The stress level of the other team, he doesn't put as much stress as Zach Ertz did. And maybe I expected to see a little more out of Dallas Goedert from that perspective. I thought maybe there would be more of that there, but also injuries played a role. I don't think he's been the healthiest as well. He's going to have to take a monster leap, in my opinion. He's shown me flashes that he can do it, but and it also comes down to, and I know the 12 personnel has been a topic. What other tight end is there? Is there another tight end? Is it going to be 11 personnel more, which going back to Devontae Smith, that opens up the field maybe because when you look at Ertz Ertz has that power where it can affect others on your offense. Is Dallas Goedert a guy that is that strong? Or just like with Reagor, is Devontae Smith going to help out Dallas Goedert? Or is it Dallas Goedert that's going to open up the rest of the offense? You know what I'm saying? Like, is he a player that impacts the offense that much? And I thought at one point maybe that was him. I'm starting to dwindle. Not that doesn't mean he's not going to be an effective tight end. I think he's an amazing tight end still. But does he pop like I thought he was going to pop? I don't know. Maybe he's more of that secondary piece that will benefit more from another wide receiver out there, more so than being that guy that impacts a Jalen Reagor, if you will. And it's hard. You're a tight end, not a wide receiver with that type of speed. But as the game changes, tight ends do that now. Travis Kelce impacts the game that way. Zach Ertz impacted the game that way. The tight end position now, Kyle Pitts, there's a reason why he went that high. So that is how the game is. I don't know if he has that type of effectiveness, but that doesn't mean he's not going to help out this team extremely at the same time.
All right, Hunter, last one from me. I know you got to go do your own show, so I just want to go through all 17 games on the schedule. No, I'm just kidding.
Win-loss.
Yeah, win-loss. Anything you look at the schedule, anything jump out at you?
Yeah, there's a few things, actually, and the fact that there's limited prime time games, not that that's insanely surprising, but just in terms of the market it is, not so much, well, you see the reaction. Well, they were a 4-win team. What do you expect? It's Philadelphia. It's the Philadelphia Eagles. People watch the Philadelphia Eagles, whether they're a 4-win team or not. Yeah. So it's a little crazy. The backstretch is something that made my eyes kind of go up. The lack of travel and how much that can maybe really help this team. I mean, you go to New York 2 times in those last 7 weeks or so, and then you go to Washington. Other than that, you got a lot of home games thrown in there, starting with the Saints in week 11. So I think that there's a possibility. I think there's look, I don't think this team's going to be crazy good by any means. I sit in the range of maybe it's like a 6-win team, but it's not horrendous football, if that makes sense. I know it comes down to winning or losing, but last year, you wanted to literally scratch your eyes out. You could not watch it. It was that bad. I think it's possible to be a 6-win team and be excited for Nick Sirianni and Jonathan Gannon for the following year. It's that setup year where you can at least nod your head and go, okay, I can see something for the future. At least that's my optimism with the Nick Sirianni, Jalen Hurts tandem of the results might not be there win-loss wise, but you go, okay, I can see, or you just learn more about your team for the following year to kind of take the proper assessment from there. But yeah, that's it with the back stretch of that season. And then seeing the Chiefs and the Bucs within a 3-week span, it seems it might come out to a slow start. And then the possibility of making up for that later on with that Lions, Vegas. I see spurts in the schedule that at least make me feel like there's a chance to string a couple wins together, maybe.
We'll see how that all plays out during the fall, but we got to get through training camp and actually seeing the Eagles out there on the field, which starts today. Hunter, appreciate you coming on board with us today. Brought the energy. Thanks, my friend. We will get you on again down the road.
Absolutely. I didn't even have my coffee yet. Now I got to go brew that for the show. This is no coffee, and that's weird because I'm a good 8 to 9 cups a day guy.
Oh, geez.
There we go.
Yeah, and this is
we'll
no
make
caffeine.
We'll make sure we schedule you early again, because if we put you on in the second hour, we could have issues. Hunter, good stuff. Appreciate you coming on board. Thanks, bud.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys.
Our pleasure. It's the Mac and Mac guys here on Birds 365. Another good guest yet to come. My guess is he won't be quite as excitable as Hunter, but just as insightful. Zach Berman, athletic Eagle beat guy, is going to join us in our second hour. We're coming right back here on Birds 365. Stick around.
If you missed any of today's show on the Jacob Media channel, listen to the podcast on your way home. Available on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify.